Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to the continuing just blazing fires in Los Angeles. It's just, maybe it's naive of me, but I thought that surely after 3-4 days, they would have been able to, put out a majority of them, if not all of them. But I guess the scale of these fires, combined with the super high wind speeds, which I'm hearing are starting to come down, it's just, no pun intended, it's just fanning the flames. It's just, just making them larger and larger and spreading them out and making more of them. I've heard the death toll now is at least 10 people, which is a tragedy. It's both a tragedy and honestly, like the fact that number isn't larger, comparing that to the thousands of homes that have been burned down, it's honestly, I don't want to use the word miracle, but it's just wild. And, I just wonder, how does this end? Do we just send more firefighters to the region? What do we do?
And the number of dead from the fires in California has grown to 10 this morning.
Yes, and thousands of buildings have been destroyed as well. Connor Hansen joins us live from Los Angeles. He's been on...
Dude, you can hear it in the background of his background, like the flames.
On the ground there. Connor, where are you and what are you seeing this morning?
Anthony, we're technically standing in Malibu, but on the edge of that Pacific Palisades fire. That's the largest
Is that the
of
wind
several
blowing?
Now, about 20,000 acres. It is now burned. Unfortunately, this is the site we're seeing all across the LA area. These houses burned down. What you can't see in the darkness is the row behind it of homes that were completely reduced to ashes. And these fires are still popping up. You might be able to see behind me, and firefighters are still working to protect.
Yeah, the one behind him. Is that behind him or is that like a reflection?
The homes still standing, doing the best they can to contain it, though they are still pretty much burning out of control. These winds will persist at least for the next couple of days, complicating things. Officials worry
really
that
the winds aren't going down.
Is far from over.
I thought the winds would stop.
All of Los Angeles County in your thoughts and prayers.
The City of Angels is looking for a miracle as thousands of firefighters
that building
battle
is
several
just scorched.
large-scale fires threatening homes across the area.
Jesus. Because the wind is just feeding it,
The largest infernos, the Palisades and Eaton fires, won't be in vain, with the National Weather Service forecasting stronger winds throughout this morning.
God.
Flames have already destroyed more than 10,000 structures and forced more than 180,000 people to evacuate. Those who've lost everything fighting through tears.
Man.
Still, many lucky homes that avoided the flames are suffering from smoke damage. This comes as the Kenneth fire erupted Thursday afternoon.
Look at this, you could see the edge is getting close to this residential area. These guys just hope and pray that it just doesn't cross over somehow. Luckily, they've got a road between them.
In West Hills. It's being investigated as arson.
I heard about 3 helicopters fly very close to my house, right over my house. My house
People
was
are
shaking.
setting
I ran outside, and
fires.
sure enough, there was fire.
Meanwhile, CAL FIRE reports the Sunset Fire in the Hollywood Hills is 100% contained. But it didn't stop lies from circulating on social media that the iconic Hollywood sign had gone up in flames.
When we saw that...
Why would people spread that kind of rumor? In a time like this, what's wrong with some people, man?
On Instagram, it broke our hearts, so we wanted to come and see firsthand.
And now the National Guard is here to help address looting concern in some of these evacuated neighborhoods. There have already been more than a dozen looting arrests. Anthony, Anita?
All right,
Looting
Connor,
is
thanks so
just
much. While we have you on the
crazy.
line here, Connor, you've been out there now for a couple of days. Tell us, have things improved from your vantage point or changed? I know the big thing was the wind 2 days ago.
The wind is still going. You can hear it.
Yeah, the wind has backed off compared to how things started, but basically they were looking at hurricane force winds, gusts up to 75, 100 miles per hour. So that part is over, though they are concerned the wind that makes this kind of difficult to deal with will continue for at least the next couple of days.
Mate, you can hear it.
Fires Firefighters, thankfully, have been able to make a lot of progress, especially the one in the Hollywood Hills, which they were able to quickly contain, and that's great news because there's so many people who live all around it. Unfortunately, this Palisades fire still has a lot of ways to go, though they've gone from 0% containment to about 6% containment, so things hopefully moving in the positive direction for this most serious fire. The Eaton fire out by Altadena, so far the most deadly, that is still burning pretty much out of control.
Yeah, making some headway, but still a long way to go. Thank you so much, Connor Hansen. Be careful.
Man, I just hope there's some kind of federal fund that's going to, you know, help these people out. I know obviously some might say, oh, these people are like rich, they can afford to rebuild their own homes, but, you know, there's going to be plenty of people in there who just don't have that money. You know,
well, President Biden is promising a massive infusion of federal aid as California battles these unprecedented wildfires that have devastated huge swaths of the state.
And as the death toll continues to rise, again overnight, jump from 6 up to 10 people, the finger pointing is well underway. The blame game is underway. Doug Luzader has more from Washington this morning. Doug,
I think
good
we
morning
should
to you.
wait before we start pointing the
All right, so
blame,
we'll start with
though.
President Biden. Yesterday, he has promised to help California beyond what the state is even asking for. How does this work for the rest of America and their tax dollars?
Well, you know, federal assistance always comes into play in these things. Generally, it's the federal government picking up just a portion of the tab for these immediate disaster response costs. And in this case, Biden has said he's going to cover 100%. It's not clear where that money is going to come from. It's largely going to be deficit spending, it sounds like. But this is a commitment that he's making, and it extends into Trump's term in office.
I mean, if you're against that, I'd love to know the reasons why. You know, I would love to understand the arguments against, you know, helping these people who've just lost their homes through no fault of their own. Like,
and at the same time, there are all kinds of questions about whether California was adequately prepared to deal with all of this, especially given how quickly these fires spread and the inability of fire crews to beat back these flames and save more of these structures.
But the wind,
and a lot of that, of course, goes down to the dollar amount. And so you're looking at the mayor, you're looking at the governor, and lots of questions being asked about each of them, even Donald Trump weighing in on this. Can you kind of say what it means for this transition of power that we're looking at, that this could be a long road ahead for redemption for the state?
You know, there's long been tension between Donald Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom, even on this issue, disaster preparedness. And this goes back to Trump's first term in office. The president...
I don't know, man. I feel like we should wait until the fires are out before we start doing this. You know, I think the priority should be getting these fires under control and stopped before we start arguing about how much we're going to spend and you know, et cetera, et cetera. What do you guys think?
Was very critical of Newsom and the way water resources were being managed in California. He's arguing that if they managed them better, they wouldn't be dealing with this. The state of California and municipalities say, look, these municipal water systems are just not designed to have the capacity to deal with wildfires. They can deal with an occasional house fire, maybe a couple of house fires on a block, but when you start trying to beat back these enormous fires, you just don't have the capacity.
It looks like a disaster movie, man. It looks like, you know, The Last of Us, one of the scenes from The Last of Us, some post-apocalyptic TV show, like this burned out car, just flames roaring in the background, the smog.
These water systems. So there are going to be all kinds of questions and investigations into this about why California was not better prepared to deal with what appears to have been a disaster in the making for decades.
And some of that criticism has been directed at the mayor, Karen Bass, for geographically where she was when these fires broke out, and also to some of the policies within the LA Fire Department. What's playing out there?
Yeah, I heard she was in Ghana at the time, but I mean, like, if she had pre-booked that and obviously the fires hadn't started before she went to Ghana, like, can you hold that against her? Like, if you're working a job and you're on holiday and then something bad happens to the company while you're away, is it your fault?
Well, the LA Fire Department's budget had been cut somewhat. Now, what Bass is saying, and she had been in Ghana at the time these fires really began, she did return back to LA, and what she's saying is that the cuts that she made did not have an impact on this response. We'll see. They certainly didn't help, though. And at the same time, she was prioritizing assistance for homeless and so on. And, you know, yeah, there are going to be policy questions about how L.A. handled all of this. But it's just very clear that there is probably plenty of blame to be shouldered from the top on down there in California, because in a lot of respects, you look at this now and wonder why it never happened at some other time. I mean, you know, the wind was just coming in such a way that these flames blew into heavily populated areas around L.A., and it's just been a disaster.
Yeah, it really has.
The scale of it, you know, like the scale.
LA.
Seeing that helicopter is so small, and this whole section here,
and it's just been a disaster.
Yeah, it really has been. Heart still goes out to all those.
Crazy. I think it's premature to start portioning blame. You know, I think all efforts, because the time spent arguing about whose fault it is could be better served, you know, deploying resources, negotiating with neighboring cities to bring in, you know, their fire departments, you know, speaking with water companies to find out if there's ways that they can increase the amount of water being pumped in to put out the fires. You know, there's a million things that they could be doing right now than arguing about and finger pointing. It just seems ridiculous that that's what they would be doing while the fires are still going on, while people are still dying. You know, the death toll has jumped now by 100% since yesterday. You know, who knows what it's going to be tomorrow, the day after. This thing is still going on. Like, I think, you know, we need to, it's times like this where bipartisan cooperation should be the strategy rather than trying to point score. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.